Trying to decide which name sounds cooler. Rome. Reme. Me. Quick, which of these two popularized the term nihilism? Ivan Turgenev, Friedrich Nietzsche, Anthony in the middle of retreating from the Parthian Empire through Armenia. Wait a minute, I hate Armenia. World War II was won because of the USSR. World War II was won because of the USA. World War II was won because of all sides and the resistance movements. Poland. Independence and an actual economy. Germany. Poland. Independence. We did not lose, we were stabbed in the back by Jews. We would have won if it were not for the Armenians. Our counterinsurgency tactics were working great in Algeria. The politicians and public forced us out. Our army was never defeated by the Vietnamese. We left because of the evil politicians and hippies. The Spartans. We held off an entire army with 300 soldiers. One Norwegian with an axe. Toyotomi Shogunate. Ming Dynasty. Joseon. Our skin alone will make us bulletproof. It worked for Achilles. An army marches on its stomach, or in our case, with the contents of other people in our stomachs. Why do you think a man can't change? Germany is now part of the global community, and people are in their dungeons only by their consent. I, Mithridates, shan't be taken alive by these Romans and Pompey. I shall go out on my own terms. Why am I still alive? Oh right. Task failed successfully. Switzerland minding its own business. An independent communist Bavaria declaring war on Switzerland. Serbia shot down one of our stealth bombers. Now everyone thinks low-frequency radars detect stealth aircraft. We attempt to take over the world. We start winning. We attack Russia. We attack Russia. Nobody. Central Americans the last 2,000 years. Nobody. Ed Pulaski. I'm a fireman, but Dutch language activists protecting embryonic Afrikaans from being assimilated by English. Africans replacing Dutch as official language of South Africa. Dictators who win elections with 95% of the vote. You have my respect, Stark. George Washington, who won the election with 100% of the vote. Split Rome into 4 regions under the Tetrarchy to govern the empire. Enact religious policies that will create a rift in the East and West. The rift and new Caesar cause a succession crisis and a civil war. The rift and new Caesar cause a succession crisis and a civil war. A normal conversation. An Austrian joins and begins to talk about South Tyrol. The members of Aerosmith unable to come up with lyrics for a song. Marty Feldman saying, "Walk this way," in Young Frankenstein. Let Germany take Austria, but tell them not again. Let Germany take Czechoslovakia, but tell them not again. Germany invades Poland. Germany invaded Poland. That one time, Jesus turned water into Jack Daniels. This is my neighbor. He is pain in my assholes. I fight in civil war. He fights in civil war. I put missiles in Turkey. He puts missiles in Cuba. I survive past 1991. He cannot. Great success. New York. Old York. New Orleans. Old Orleans. When I'm in a steel driving competition, and my opponent is a strong black guy with a hammer. Bill of Rights. Did you know you have rights? The Supreme Court in 1833 stating that it only applies to the federal government. James Flowers, the attorney for the Lum family. My colleague has assigned this case to me. I am not as qualified as he is, so let's see how this goes. The Lum children have always attended the white school, so why force them to go to the black school? Segregated schools are inherently unequal. Segregated schools are inherently unequal. And that's why you should rule in their favor, justices. Being the son of a president. Being the father of a president. John Scott Harrison, who was not a president. Abraham Lincoln. How his plan for Reconstruction sounded like. The entire Red Army in Belarus. Germany already getting D-Day'd by the Western Allies. American revolutionaries not wanting to be taxed by the English Vikings. Russians and Mongolians at Khalkhin Gol and Soviet-Japanese War. Mongolians. Never thought I would be fighting side by side with the Russians. Russians. How about side by side with a friend? Mongolians. I could do that. Most combat veterans after returning from war. A short, scrawny teenager from Texas. Wanna see me do it again. World War II German spies when they have to say the name of a bipedal rodent with furry tail, likes to climb trees, lives on a tree, eats nuts, and has 2 large front teeth. Current objective, survive, terrorist, plants a bomb at a crowded beach, a random drug addict. I'm about to end this man's whole career. Members of the House of Commons and Lords. parliament. All of you, get out. Except you stay. First, China will shelter Ho Chi Minh from French persecution and arrest. Then, they'll give truly massive amounts of non-refundable aid from 1950 to 1975. And then China invade Vietnam with over 100,000 soldiers, in a war that will last over a decade. And then China invade Vietnam with over 100,000 soldiers, in a war that will last over a decade. French and British troops at Dunkirk, waiting to be destroyed by the Germans. All those years wasted fighting each other, Charles. What I wouldn't give for a precious few of them back. The Nazis were so stylish. The Nazis. Japan, Korea, China, Vietnam, Austria ultimatum to Serbia in 1914. NATO ultimatum to Serbia in 1998. I can explain. What are you trying to smuggle into Guatemala? Teacher, how did the Russo-Japanese War start? My brain. Who would win? One of the best generals in Roman history, leading a very capable army. One of the most competent rulers in Persian history, leading a very capable army. USSR. Don't go to Israel, we have a Jewish homeland at home. The Jewish homeland at home. You find a guy with terminal cancer. You secretly inject him with plutonium because he's gonna die anyway, so who cares? You study the effects. Turns out he didn't have cancer. Now it's a longitudinal study. The Mongols. Hey Japan, sure would be cool if you could just let me take control of you. Please. X4. What if I invade you? Japan's weather. How many times do we have to teach you this lesson, old man? World War I Germans after holding Vimy Ridge for nearly 3 years the second they see Canadians join the battle. 3 days. Yes, we all have. 3 days to live. The Armenian genocide never happened. The Armenians deserved it. The Turks. Dutch as viewed by Indonesians. Dutch as viewed by the rest of Europe. East Asia. You have freed us. Imperial Japan. Oh, I wouldn't say freed. More like under new management. The world applauding the Soviet Union for launching the first satellite. The Soviets just sticking the Sputnik on an R-7 ballistic missile. Portugal claiming the Americas as their own. Spain, who already claimed the entire Americas as their own. The actual natives. Hitler in 1938. If Czechoslovakia gives me the Sudetenland, I promise to go no further. Hitler to the Czechs 6 months later. You have something I want. Active terrorist shootout in theater in Russia. Real Russian civilians from 27 angles. Translations from Greek rendering syntactic reconstruction impossible. Gothic. Old Church Slavonic. A communist military officer has taken power by force in an African country. It's Thomas Sankara. Me looking at people who take Eric von Daniken and his supporters seriously, and there seems to be no sign of intelligent life anywhere. British higher-ups and intelligence officers seeing the new radar thingy the Germans had deployed at Bruneval. It's time to go on a little adventure.